Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. Going to have a look at the weather next week's 10 days. For today's video, this will take us to New Year's Eve, 10 days away from today. It's winter solstice today, so it means that we've reached our shortest day and our longest night. From here on in, the days will begin to lengthen and the nights will start to shorten, and eventually that will take us into the spring and the summer, but we've got a long way to go before we get to that point. And the old saying says, as the days lengthen, the cold strengthens. I'm not sure whether that's necessarily true in this sort of modern era, but certainly January and February on average are colder months compared to December, so we'll see whether we do get more cold weather in the coming months. Eventually, of course, we will arrive at spring and summer, however, when the sun will return to our hemisphere. But for the moment, we're well and truly still, despite the fact that the shortest day and days going to lengthen, we're well and truly still in the winter. However, you wouldn't know it today because it's very mild out there today. Temperatures across much of the country are into double figures, very gloomy as well. Shades of that horrible December we had a couple of years ago, December 2015, where it was sort of gloomy and damp, but extraordinarily mild throughout the whole of the month. It's a little bit like that today. But things are going to get a little bit more lively, I think, as we go through to the Christmas period. We're going to see wet and windy weather arriving. Eventually, we'll get a little bit colder for time next week. Might even bring some snow back to some parts of the country. I'll discuss all of this in today's video. We're going to begin with the Arctic Oscillation Observed and Forecast chart. The reason I'm talking a little bit extensively is I'm waiting for this to update. I've been hoping that it will be updated by now. It hasn't yet. So this is yesterday's Arctic Oscillation Observed and Forecast chart. So I'll just do one more refresh to see whether it's updated as I've been talking. And no, it hasn't, so that's annoying. But this is how things were looking yesterday with the Arctic Oscillation. Anyway, so the black line here tells where we've been with the Arctic Oscillation. The red lines at the end show where the Arctic Oscillation is being forecast to go by the GFS ensembles. So, for much of November and the first half of December, the Arctic Oscillation was in a negative phase, which tells us that we had high pressure above the pole, we had blocking, and that's the reason we had, particularly through the first sort of couple of weeks of December, had really quite cold weather, and of course that very impressive snow event on the 10th of December. Over the past few days, though, the Arctic Oscillation has been trending more and more positive, so now we are up in very positive territory. That's where we are right now, and this tells us that low pressure has come back over the pole and we've reduced that blocking signature. Remember, it's always the weather that's driving the pattern. It's not the other way around. It's the index, I should say. It's not the other way around. It's not the index that drives the pattern. It's the pattern that drives the index. So this is just telling us what has happened and what may happen if the GFS ensembles are right. So up to Christmas anyway, and this is around Christmas just here, dates on the bottom of the chart, of course. Up to Christmas, we're going to keep the Arctic Oscillation in positive territory. As we go through to New Year, there's a little bit of a downwards trend. Whether that will still be showing today, I'm not sure. I say I can't show you today's updated Arctic Oscillation yet. I suspect it won't be quite as clear-cut as that. And in any case, going up towards the New Year, there is quite a split between the ensemble members, with several of them keeping things in very positive territory. More of them yesterday were going negative, but I suspect if we could see the updated chart, and no doubt this will update within the next few minutes, if we could see the updated chart, I suspect it would show there are fewer ensemble members going into negative territory. So it's a little bit uncertain as we head towards the new year, but I think the chances of blocking coming back, certainly around the New Year period, are quite low, actually, at the moment. This is the North Atlantic Oscillation Observed and Forecast chart. Now, this has updated up to today. And again, same idea. The black line tells us where we've been with the NAO, and the red lines at the end, where GFS ensembles forecasting the NAO to go. So we're just there. We are in slightly positive territory, and the GFS ensembles are forecasters to stay in positive territory through to the end of the year. So it looks like we're going to keep the NAO positive, which tells us that we're going to have more activity from off the Atlantic. We're going to have low pressure around Iceland and high pressure through the Azores. When that happens, we will strengthen westerlies and positive NEO tends to be a mild signal, albeit it doesn't rule out the chance of cold snaps. Of course, you can get a cold snap at any point, but to get sustained cold weather, really you need both the indexes, the AO and the NEO, to be in negative territory, and there's no sign of that certainly going up towards the new year. So it looks like the final sort of 10 days or so of 2017 going to be largely Atlantic driven. This is how the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles are looking for the next couple of weeks. This is for London. The red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average. So well, obviously we're mild on average now. We're going to stay mild on average through towards Christmas. That's Christmas Day showing up just there. By which time temperatures are starting to fall away. It takes a little while to push those cooler temperatures through. However, after Christmas and going up towards the new year, we do go into a cooler phase. So despite the fact it's Atlantic driven still, it looks like we are going to entrench some colder air down from the north temporarily, and that might produce some snow for northern parts of the country between Christmas and New Year. By the time you get through to the New Year, and this is the 1st of January, just here, those temperatures are beginning to lift up. Although there is a lot of scattering there are several members of the ensembles that are quite cold through this first week of January, but more of them are going really quite mild. We also may be seeing signs of a bit of a drying trend as well through the first week of January. So a lot of precipitation coming up over and after Christmas, and then from around 1st of January onwards, it looks like we're gradually losing those precipitation spikes somewhat. So maybe going more towards high pressure, which might drag up some quite warm air from the south, actually, through that first week of January. This is how the surface temperatures and air pressure GFS samples are looking for. Again, looking at London, so starting off really mild at the moment, 10 degrees Celsius is just there, 5 degrees just there, and freezing, 0 degrees Celsius just there. So we're starting above 10 degrees Celsius, we're keeping it at that sort of level through to Christmas. Let's get rid of that inside again. So we're keeping it at around or above 10 degrees Celsius through to Christmas, that being Christmas Day. Just there. After that, yes, the surface temperatures are dropping away. So between Christmas and New Year, we're going cold. We're going to around 5 degrees Celsius at London, which is quite cold actually for down in the far southeast. So you can imagine that the Midlands would be colder than that, and Northern England would be colder than the Midlands, and so on up to Scotland, where actually, for 2 or 3 days later next week, it may be that we're starting to see the temperatures going much above freezing. However, by the new year, it looks like the temperatures are starting to lift back up again, so that cooler interlude between Christmas and New Year doesn't last all that long. Temperatures returning quite close to 10 degrees Celsius, actually, through this first week of January, albeit there is quite a bit of scatter in there, as you would expect, really, because it's semi-extended part of the model. So you expect a lot of uncertainty through that period. But the trend certainly, after a cooler interlude between Christmas and New Year, is to warm things up over and after the New Year period. This is how the air pressure is looking. We're starting high with the pressure at the moment. Going to keep it high for another couple of days, and then it's downhill all the way into Christmas. So the pressure going low up to Christmas, and staying low for a few days after Christmas, before again maybe a recovery in pressure beginning to take place through this first week of January. If we do start to build high pressure in and drag the air up from the south, that may actually have a little bit of a taste of spring through the first week of January. Temperature anomalies are looking like this for the next week. It's looking very significantly warmer than average from the 21st through to the 29th of December. We aren't suffering alone. Virtually the whole of Europe has warmer than average temperature anomalies in the week ahead. There are very few places that are coming out colder than average, and the warmest anomalies to average are actually across northeastern parts of Europe, so from northern east parts of Scandinavia down into western Russia. Precipitation anomalies for the 21st of December through the 29th look like that, generally average to a bit wetter than average through much of the UK and for much of Central and Northern Europe as well. And then this is how the GFS is looking. We're starting at 96 hours, which is Christmas Day, with this update today. So we've got low pressure out to the north and the west on Christmas Day, bringing mild southerly winds from southwest into much of England and Wales on Christmas Day. It'll be a very mild day, temperatures into double figures. Will be colder across the far north of Scotland. Might be a little bit of snow there in between. Much of Scotland and Northern Ireland just looks very wet on Christmas Day. That low pressure is pushing through by Boxing Day, and we're bringing in cooler or colder air from the northwest. Another area of low pressure is heading in from off the Atlantic. That one by the 27th of December, that low pressure is actually off the East Anglian coast. It has got quite cold air pulling down on the northern side of that low pressure. So there could be something wintry going on central and northern parts of the country late Boxing Day and into the 27th of December. Then another low pressure comes through on the 28th, that bringing another bout of wet weather for the south, but again it's engaging with colder air, so particularly northern parts of the country might see some snow again with that, and as that gets out of the way, then we're all into those quite cold northwesterly winds. So between Christmas and New Year there is some wintry potential. It will feel quite cold for all of us, particularly so for northern areas where there is definitely a risk of snow between Christmas and New Year. However, we get up towards the New Year and we start to see another change because high pressure begins to build across France on the 30th. That starts to drag up a much milder southwesterly flow once again. That's how New Year's Eve is looking, day 10. And it looks very mild. We've got the air pushing up from the southwest, and it's coming from the Azores, so that's probably lifting temperatures back up. It would be lifting temperatures back up into double figures there on New Year's Eve. Quite a bit of rain in the north and in west. It's a very, very long time since we had a cold New Year, I have to say. Even December Christmas 2010 was cold, but by New Year 2010, 2011, it had turned a lot milder. So I think you have to go back to 2009, 2010 for the last time it's actually cold over the New Year period. We have suffered quite a lot of very mild Christmas and New Year periods since that December to remember in 2010. It can't be much longer, you would think, just by law of averages, that we will get a colder Christmas and New Year period. You think it's got to happen before very much longer, but it certainly isn't going to be this year. Beyond that, so we go to New Year's Day, and look at this, we're dragging the air up from the south. That's almost like a little bit of a heat wave type situation. Bear in mind it's January, so not really going to be a heat wave. But the air is coming, look how far the south the air is coming from. It's coming from sort of North Africa, pushing up into the west of Europe. That could be lifting temperatures at least into double figures, but I would have thought 13, 14 degrees is possible there in the early part of January. That could turn things exceptionally mild, and we may even get a little bit of Saharan dust if that comes off, being dragged up out of North Africa. Real roller coaster ride then in the next 10 days, with very mild weather up to Christmas, colder snap after Christmas, and then those warm southerly winds wafting up from North Africa by the New Year. Certainly be enough to keep us on our toes. This is how the ECMWF is looking for Christmas Day. So we've got low pressure again in the northwest, bringing cloud and outbreaks of rain. Elsewhere, it's just a mild and mainly dry day on Christmas Day. That's how things looking at midnight on Christmas night to Boxing Day, bringing this front across the country, taking heavy rain with it, and following along behind with that, there'd be colder air, and the showers would turn wintry in the north. That's how Boxing Day looks. Very messy looking pattern. So we've got our main area of low pressure to the northwest of Scotland. That could be bringing quite cold air, wintry showers into northern Scotland. Further south, another area of low pressure could be threatening persistent rain for England and Wales. By the time we go through to 28th of December, it's all gone rather flat, but quite a cold northwesterly to westerly wind is coming in there, probably feeding wintry showers into the north and the west. And then we just keep it cool and unsettled to the 29th of December. Low pressure is dominating, so will be showers along with spells of rain. Quite cool, probably cool enough for snow across parts of Scotland. That's the 30th of December. We've got quite a cold northwesterly wind there. So at the time when the GFS is trying to bring up the first push of very mild air for the new year, the ECMWF actually looks quite cold on the 30th of December. But we go to day 10, which is New Year's Eve, and it looks like those very mild southwesterly winds are trying to start to re-establish. So it takes a little bit longer to get there, but I think eventually the ECMF would probably, if we could roll on another day or two, would probably start to drag up very mild air from the south or the southwest in the opening days of January. I'll just show you the wintry potential between Christmas and New Year, finally, from the weatherout.com. This is a precipitation type forecast based on the GFS. This is starting at 6 o'clock on Christmas Day in the morning. It looks wet for Scotland, patchy rain elsewhere, but many central east parts of the country looking mostly dry. We go through the day, and the rain turns very heavy across Scotland, possibly turning to snow across central and northern parts of Scotland as well. Wet around these western coasts, but many inland areas actually having a dry and very mild, but probably quite cloudy Christmas Day. Then overnight, Christmas night, we bring that wet weather across England and Wales, so we get a band of heavy rain with wintry showers following along behind into the early hours of Boxing Day. So we go into Boxing Day and we bring another area of wet weather into the southwest. Further north, there's wintry showers through the course of Boxing Day afternoon. And then this wet weather pushes across England and Wales late Boxing Day, possibly giving something a little bit wintry to parts of North Wales and northern England as well, but mainly rain on Boxing Day for much of England and Wales. This is the 27th of December, where we're suggesting wintry showers here for central and northern parts of the country. And then we bring that next low pressure through, so going to the 28th, and that is bringing more widespread wintry conditions perhaps. So it's suggesting the chance of snow through Scotland down into northern England and also into parts of Wales as well. Further south of that, mainly rain. The position of that rain-snow area is likely to change a lot in the coming days, but the 28th of December, that might be one that has more wintry conditions with it. Wintry showers continue then through to the 29th of December. Quite a lot of snow being suggested for Scotland, mainly rain down across the south. So definitely a wintry interlude there between Christmas and New Year. But we get to the New Year itself, and of course, it turns much milder, and we're just bringing rain through then as we start to drag up those much milder southerly to southwesterly winds in the New Year. There's a lot to keep us on our toes with here. So it looks like up to Christmas, it's going to be mostly dry and very mild, and then we get to Christmas itself, it turns much more unsettled and eventually, although most of us are now looking like having a mild Christmas Day, by Boxing Day it does look like it's colder, and then between Christmas and New Year we have quite a cold spell actually, particularly for the north, with risk of some snow. It's mostly just cold rain down in the south. And then New Year itself sees another change, probably with winds going back to the south or southwest, dragging up very mild air for the start of 2018. I'll probably do an ensembles watch this evening. I'll go through all the GFS ensemble members individually, see what they're showing through this first week of January. Will there be much support for the idea of very mild southerly winds? You'll find out later on with the GFS ensembles watch. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.